Good afternoon. You're watching Up to Data, a retail news chat show in which we discuss all things technology, digital transformation, and of course, data. And on today's show, we have the CEO of Eyewa joining us here at the London project with us today. Great. Elias, once again, thanks for joining us here. First things first, tell us a little bit about Eyewa. What is it? What is the business model?
Right. So Eyewa aims to be the largest platform for eyewear in the Middle East region. And I say platform because that's both online and offline.
Right. And when did you all start your journey in this sphere?
So almost exactly 4 years to the date is when, we launched our first version of the website. And since then, we've, gone from strength to strength, expanding both geographically in terms of our scale and as of more recently into physical brick and mortar locations.
Right. Okay. So we've been hearing a lot of news from Eyewa coming about you securing another round of funding. There's again a lot of big companies that are involved, U.A.E Capital being one of them, etc. So obviously, it's been a successful journey, if I may put it that way. What do you think has led to your success over the last 4 years?
Right. So, it's a lot of factors coming together, right? Part of it is, being in the right place at the right time, identifying a gap in the market that was as of yet not really addressed and moving on it quickly, having the right leadership structure. So the founders, myself, the other, senior executives of the company all have, very complementary skill sets and very strong backgrounds that have helped us go from strength to strength. Getting the right funding in at the right time to help us boost our, achievements and our growth, and taking the right strategic decisions and being very flexible and versatile. For example, when COVID hit and the pandemic hit, we were able to quickly pivot, launch new product lines that we saw demand for, swivel away from other things just to optimize and make sure that we're continuing to grow and capitalize on the ever-changing landscape.
Sure. Okay. So one thing that you mentioned was obviously you started off as an e-commerce platform and then you diversified into having your own retail stores, which is different, right? Like what we saw during COVID is a lot of traditional retailers with physical stores, they were moving online and starting their e-commerce platform. So you clearly saw value in having your physical stores and presence. Tell us more about that.
Right. So us having physical stores was always part of the game plan, right? It's not something new. Like from day zero, when the company was launched, we knew about 3 to 4 years into having the company up and running, the plan was to have a physical footprint. And the reason for that is, omnichannel really is the way forward. You can have e-commerce purely for a lot of aspects, say electronics, digital, your massive marketplaces. But for a business like ours, that's more oriented towards fashion, particularly the items you sell like eyeglasses, so on and so forth. You really need to have that omnichannel experience where a customer, if they so want, can come in, interact with you, interact with your products, have that sort of showroom, and then they can migrate to online for like finishing their, journey or whatnot. But it's very important to have that hand-in-hand experience.
Right. So you told me earlier that December 2020 is when you opened your first store. So since then, what is the kind of value you've seen in having a physical presence as well?
Right. So, when we opened, we saw a lot of people that were already familiar with us online coming in, being drawn in to interact with the brand. We're already a brand that many people like, many people are familiar with, and so to be physically able to touch us, interact with us, speak with us is something that a lot of the customers really enjoyed. And as I mentioned, now it also helped them bridge a lot of the gaps they had in their purchasing journey when it was purely online. They could come try their glasses on. Very important for us as well. For example, they could even get eye tests.
Right.
This was before we had physical stores. It was a bit challenging for a customer to necessarily have their eye test ready. Now they can come in, sit with our optometrist, get their eye test. They can buy on the spot, or now within a year or two, their prescription is saved with us. They can just reorder online conveniently. They don't need to come back into a store.
Right. So at this point, you have a presence in KSA and in the U.A.E. Do you have expansion plans?
So we have, our retail stores open in Saudi. We have our first one opening very, very soon in Dubai, with more to come. We do have expansion plans. So throughout the rest of the GCC, we're looking at Kuwait, Bahrain, potentially Qatar down the line in terms of operations on the ground as well as physical, retail locations. We also have Egypt Square in our sites because really we want to be a regional play, not just the GCC, but rather the full MENA region.
All right. So now again, you're a good mix of both physical and e-commerce stores, or at least that's what you're aiming to go towards. With all the traditional retailers with physical stores that we've spoken about, they've said that still a huge chunk of their revenue comes from the physical stores. How is it for you, considering you started the other way around?
Well, our physical footprint is still relatively small. We only have a few stores operating as of today. So still the majority of our revenue comes from online. However, we are seeing very healthy revenue coming from our offline stores. As we launch more and more stores, we do expect that, balance to shift from online to offline. Whether or not offline will ever supersede or exceed the performance of online, I don't know yet. We don't know. It depends on the market, depends on how many countries you're looking at, because a lot of what we'll be doing now in parallel is expanding geographically to other countries, not through physical retail, but just by serving them through online. So both will grow.
Great. Okay, let's talk about data now, right? So obviously being an e-commerce platform first, you do have that leverage. You do have that advantage of having access to rich, good quality data. How is it that you're using it? What are you using it for?
So we use it in multiple ways. For example, some of our products, say contact lenses, these are ones that, people replenish quite frequently. So we look at what people are ordering, when they've ordered it, what the frequency of the product they're ordering is, and we send them reminders, for example, when they need to reorder. This is a good way for someone not to find themselves last minute without their lenses, and to remember, let's order from Eyewa versus someone else.
Right.
We use it also to, look at what people want. When we're looking at our more fashion-oriented items, say sunglasses, eyeglasses, we look at what's being popular, what's being ordered from our existing collections. And we use that to tailor future collections, in terms of colors, styles, etc., to make sure that we are stocking up more and introducing more styles within what customers enjoy.
Right.
We also look outside of Eyewa at trends being established elsewhere to see, we know what historically customers want, but we can also use that data to predict what the customer may want in the future to start introducing that newness as well into our product lines. That's just some other way we use it.
So what is it that you found out that the customers in this region want?
I mean, it's varying things, depending on the nationality, the age group. Some prefer more like, standard eyewear. Something we found, for example, that fast fashion eyewear is very popular. This is at a lower price point for sunglasses, a bit funkier in style, if you will, a bit more out there. But because the price point is lower, people are willing to go take that risk because it's not like a big investment for them. So we're introducing a lot of that with drops every couple of months or so. So people keep coming back, sort of like how Zara introduces new collections every month or so. That's what we're doing with the newness.
Okay, that's interesting. Like everything you've said so far is just making me draw parallels to Warby Parker, and they also recently just announced that they might, file for an IPO valued at $3 billion. Again, it's great news coming there because they managed to find that gap in the market and fill it. And some of the things they did was obviously the eyewear segment was costlier or considered to be more expensive, and people weren't comfortable with the whole e-commerce route without, trying it, etc. In terms of what you were doing and in terms of you taking the D2C angle, what was your approach?
So yeah, I mean, first of all, yes, exactly. Great news about Warby Parker. There are a lot of parallels between Eyewa and Warby Parker, but Warby Parker is a D2C only company. Eyewa remains very much a retailer. We do want, especially online, to give our customers the widest selection of eyewear possible at varying price points. But we do also have D2C. So we do also have many of our own private brands that are filling gaps that we've identified in the market. And this is something that really, like, as I said, it does fill gaps because we were able to see, you look at what the market has today, it's quite homogeneous out there, actually. If you go into any mall, all the optical shops, give or take, sell 80% of the same stuff, same brands, same price points. So we're able to identify, what are the styles customers are going for? Introduce similar styles within our own brands at much more affordable price points because it is D2C. And that's, draws the customer in because they're able to now have a more varied collection as well. They can accessorize more. That's what eyeglasses really are for us. They're not a medical device as is quite common for people to view them here, which people buy once, maybe twice every couple of years. It's really a fashion accessory that just so happens to actually solve a customer's medical need as well.
Right, and because again, you're in both the spheres, you're a retailer as well as you're doing D2C. In terms of the D2C arm, what are the advantages or opportunities you see being direct to customers and consumers?
Well, first and foremost, the one very, very obvious thing is the cost. By being D2C, you were able to provide and source things directly. So the cost is much lower versus going through all the different middle people that would typically exist with well-established brands. And therefore, you're able to pass on a lot of that cost saving to the customer, giving them a very good quality product at a much lower price point. The second thing is, being dynamic. A lot of these big brands, some of them now they're getting more clued on. They're tailoring things to the region, launching exclusives for the region, so on. You see it here and there, but it's not to the same level. I'm able to really tailor my products to my audience, and I can do it quickly because I'm young, I'm dynamic. We're a relatively small team. We can do it quickly, launch products very quickly that suit the customer's expectation. I'll give you an example, not complete parallel, but an example of this. For example, when the lockdowns really hit throughout the region, a lot of people working from home had a lot more screen time than usual. We saw a massive uptick in the demand for blue light protective glasses. These are glasses that protect your eyes, shield your eyes from harmful blue light rays that are emitted by your screens. We, within a couple of weeks, had launched big lines of those items on our website. This is something that a bigger house, a bigger brand would have not been able to do that quickly. So this is what I was saying about being dynamic and being able to shift and pivot as per the changing landscape.
Right. And this is a flexibility you have as a D2C title. Right. So again, your startup journey has been incredible so far, with your visibility and your brand visibility up there already. People know about it. People are already purchasing. I know a lot of people who are buying from Eyewa, etc. But in terms of the pain points that you faced as a startup in this nascent market, in this very niche vertical, what were they?
There's a lot of challenges in general, for example, in this market, in terms of e-commerce, there's a lot of challenges in the beginning with customers not being really comfortable with it, not being really, clued up as to how to interact with e-commerce. So those are a lot of challenges there. Since we started 4 years ago today, it's a very different picture. E-commerce is a lot more accepted now, so it's much easier to do business from that end. In terms of gaining investments and all that, again, some challenges, especially in the early days, with some investors not being completely familiar with digital and omnichannel and all that. So there was a bit of education that we had to do there about the actual potential of the market. But again, nothing very challenging in that point.
Yeah, that's great. It's so nice to hear a startup say that it hasn't been extremely challenging.
There have been challenges, but I would say nothing more than was expected.
Right. Another word you've been mentioning is omnichannel, which again, a lot of retailers have been saying here. But for you and for Eyewa, what does it mean?
So omnichannel for us really means a seamless experience for the customer, right? Dealing with Eyewa in the store is no different than dealing with Eyewa online. If you buy something online, you want to return it in store, no problem. You buy it in the store, you want to return it online, no problem. You want to go in the store, have this item that might not even be physically in the store. That's one of the beautiful things about it. We have limited shelf space, whereas online we don't. Someone finds a frame they like, they just don't like the color. We can show them maybe the 5 other colors you have of that same frame. Order it in the store right then and there. 1-2 days later, it's delivered to their home. They don't need to come back to the mall. It's great. So this is what it means for us. It means making the customer's life as easy as possible, letting them interact with us in the way they feel the most comfortable. And if they want to start their journey in store and then finish it online or vice versa, this is what it means for us.
And are there certain strategies that you're putting in play to make sure people have this seamless journey?
Of course, we have a lot of tools and strategies in place to make sure that, for the customer, we eliminate any pain points that they might traditionally face with what we might call a multi-channel retailer. So you have a lot of retailers that are really, they say they're omnichannel, but they're multi-channel. So they have a physical store and they have an online store, but those are two different entities. If you buy from one, you can't return to the other, you can't interact with the other, and vice versa. It's like two different businesses. And that actually ends up being quite frustrating for the customer. So we're really adopting the proper omni-channel experience. Eyewa is Eyewa. Across countries even. Eyewa U.A.E, Eyewa Egypt. No problem.
Right. Okay. So in terms of customer acceptance, though, obviously people in the region are still just slowly warming up to the idea of buying certain things and commodities online. Obviously, COVID accelerated it and their confidence increased in, the e-commerce processes. But in terms of just the confidence that you see within customers in buying from your retail stores and online, do you see there is that parity, there is that difference? And are you catering to two different segments of customers on your physical store and in your e-commerce platform?
So certainly we get a lot of customers in our physical stores that have not interacted with us before. And that's just the gateway for them. They come in, they interact with the Eyewa store, they buy for the first time, they trust their product, and that leads them to be more comfortable for coming online. So we do definitely utilize the stores as a gateway for those customers that are, not yet initiated into e-commerce to come and join the e-commerce, revolution. On the other hand, people that start their journey online, they're already familiar with online and they just use the physical location to kind of, escalate their experience or add to their experience and interaction.
I'm glad you mentioned experience, because that was my next point about, how are you ensuring great experiences online and in-store? Of course, when you're talking about in-store experiences, people are looking for that wow element, for something that is going to attract them to come to the store and get out of their homes, out of their conveniences. There's one element of in-store experiences there, and that online experience is a whole other ball game. So how are you trying to elevate experiences in retail?
Right. So when it comes to retail locations, like first and foremost, we start with the look and feel of the store. We're very, very different than your traditional optical store. We're quite colorful, vibrant, and we're focused. And instead of having hundreds and hundreds of frames on the walls, different brands, everything, we're more focused on having a more curated selection for customers to browse. And again, they can then go online. We have tablets in the stores, or our sales teams have tablets, and they can show the customers more options as they need. We have, for example, kind of like a beauty bar when it comes to our color contact lenses, which are quite popular in the region. People can go, check out all the different colors. We are introducing even virtual try-on for those color lenses, so people can get a rough idea of what that color would look like on them, because with contact lenses, it's not like something you can just try on, see if it looks well and take it off, because it's a medical item in the end. So we're introducing that, virtual and augmented reality angle to it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of the online platforms as well, we'll be introducing virtual try-on across different ranges, be it from color lenses to our eyeglasses and sunglasses. So you can get a better idea of how a frame or other product will look and feel on you before you end up purchasing it, elevating the experience as well. Throughout our journey, we have easy returns and exchanges. So even if you do buy and you're not 100% confident or comfortable in what you purchased in the end, no worries, no harm, no foul. Come back, return it to us, no worries. And that's really some of the aspects we look at in terms of elevating the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're one of the people who've actually given us an example of how you're really using AR, VR, XR, because a lot of retailers, we've seen that they're using emerging technologies because they're following a fad, because everyone's doing it, we need to do it, and it doesn't quite fit into what they really want to, sort of say and message out. But over here, it makes a lot of sense. It's about, investing in the right kinds of technologies. So you've mentioned augmented reality, virtual try-ons are some of the things. Apart from that, what are the technologies that are being given priority right now?
So, for example, one of the technologies we'll be trying to prioritize is the virtual eye exam. So this is where customers won't even need to come into our physical store for their eye exam. There is some nascent technology there. We're looking at it. We're talking to the people behind it. We're looking at building our own. It could be potentially like where we are able to administer a full-fledged eye exam, or at the very least, be able to confirm a customer's prescription. They already have one prescribed by a doctor, by an optometrist in store, but in a year or so, they want to order again. They're not sure if their prescription has changed. This technology would enable us to at least, with the optometrist digitally say, your prescription's fine as is. Go ahead and order. No worries. You'll have eyeglasses that are comfortable for you. Or, no, yes, you need to come back in for a physical examination again.
Right.
So these are some of the, technologies we're looking at. At least this is from the front-facing angle that's serving the customer. On the back end, we're always investing in technology to make sure that we are able to continue giving the customer the best experience possible, fastest deliveries, easy returns, exchanges, and to have those technologies really help us continue to give that same good experience or better as we continue to scale up, as you continue to grow across multiple geographies.
Right, just coming back to the whole DTC discussion we had, right? Like in terms of direct to consumer, where do you see the future of this segment going? Is it bright for this region?
I think it really is bright in this region. This region, unlike say other markets, say Europe, the US, hasn't had a lot of homegrown brands, hasn't had a lot of this D2C approach. A lot of the brands that historically we've seen here are big conglomerates coming from the West that are selling items, again, designed and made for people abroad. There will always be a market for that. People will always go out and buy these most popular brands. But we are seeing a shift with people really embracing homegrown ideas and homegrown brands, and being able to be, to some extent, a D2C, with some of our brands, a D2C retailer here, bringing to customers items that they have helped inspire and build. Because again, we talk to our customers, we know what they like, and we make it for them, is really something that we're seeing a lot of traction with. So I do think there's quite a bright future for this in this region.
Right, and if there's anything that's stopping a lot of brands from going D2C, what would you say it would be?
It's just change is difficult for a lot of people. Like, there is a status quo, and this is why we, for example, we see ourselves as disruptors, because we're disrupting that status quo. Traditionally, you work in such a way where you have the principal brand, and then you have a distributor for the region, and then you potentially have a joint venture or franchisee partners on the ground that are operating your retail stores. So a lot of steps, a lot of different people making decisions, and some of these people making decisions for our region, for example, might not really be in tune with what our region needs. Sure. And so you end up with a misalignment there. So whereas we are in the region, from the region, building it for the region, for us, by us, basically. So we're giving something quite different here.
Yeah, it does make sense, right? You mentioned that it's less costly because you're eliminating middlemen.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of the brand value that you can retain, and also you own all the customer data. Unlike if you're listed on Amazon or Noon, for example, they own all the data. So yeah, there clearly is a lot of value and potential that still needs to be tapped into in this region. But again, thanks so much for joining us here, Elias. Lovely chatting with you, and very excited to see what Eyewa has in store for this region.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Great, and thank you for watching Up to Data. We will be back again next week.